Welcome to the Feel Good Always podcast, where we transform grief and suffering into never ending connection and a life fully felt. I'm Becky Bradley, and in today's episode, I'm joined by Emily Graham, author, speaker, grief coach, and founder of afterchildloss.com. Emily and I share the profound experience of knowing ahead of time that something would happen to our children. That experience opened us up to conversations about soul planning, divine orchestration, and the truth that everything unfolded exactly as it was meant to. Make sure you listen all the way to the end because I share some of the signs that have come through since this conversation that I had with Emily, because there's always more. And I also wanted to point out something because I have changed my language around the word death. I had been using the word transition to describe Kira has transitioned instead of saying died. And that's because that is what happens. Her energy transitioned into something else. But through a lot of signs and connection, I was able to see that she really wanted me to start using the word death. And if you listen to this podcast, you'll hear one of the first things that came to me was when Emily started talking about that. And that's about 52 minutes or somewhere around there in this episode. So you can pay attention to that if you're listening. I don't believe it's by accident. I know you'll hear something that you are meant to hear, something to remind you that we are divinely guided and that we are always invited to feel good always. So let's begin. Welcome to the Feel Good Always podcast, real stories of love, connection, and remembering who we are. I'm Becky Bradley, and I'm here with Emily Graham. Welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
I'm glad you're here. So we're going to, I know Emily. I met Emily. She was actually my grief coach after my daughter Kira transitioned in a fatal UTV accident. And we're going to be talking about a lot of really profound experiences that the two of us have had here together. And obviously you had many before I started having them, and by you sharing your experience, you've been able to really help me see that what was possible, what I was already experiencing. But I really do feel that when we share these experiences and we hear about these experiences when they're happening to us, we stop the doubt, which tells us that, this can't be real. So I'm super grateful to you, Emily, for so many reasons. And glad that you came into my life to help me. And then now you're here and you're going to help so many other people that are listening.
I love that. And I do agree. We've had so many synchronicities in our journey. I think when we first met, that was something that was coming through really clear to me. It was like every time we would meet, I had this feeling of she's going to be connected in this really amazing way. And she's going to go on to do these really great things. And it was like, we just have to figure out how to step over the trauma piece of this to kind of open up to this being a bigger thing.
Yeah. And I feel like the only thing that I could do, which you did also, was actually just live through it. I'd love
Yes.
to have figured out how to do it without all of the tremendous,
Right.
unimaginable pain. And you were somebody that literally helped me live minute through Kira's transition. And I'm, eternally grateful for that, because I remember, I'm going to read your bio, but I want to say, I do remember barely being able to get through a minute, and you would tell me about how you would literally just stare at the clock and watch the minutes go by.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I use that tool, and it's as simple as that we stay present and we know that everything is impermanent and that we just feel it. And so you have a really amazing story. I hate to think of our lives as stories, but they are.
I know.
It's so.
Or to use the word amazing. I feel like that's one of those things that comes with clarity as we move through this, in a way, to look at something that was so traumatic and tragic and all of that, and to be able to see the beauty or the good, I guess, that comes out of it.
Yeah. I mean, so much good. which is, yeah, people might
It's
not
huge.
understand that, but I know you understand that through great pain, something really good can happen, especially our connection to our children, and how,
Yeah,
as we sit here today, they have already shown us how much your son
yeah,
Cameron and Kira, they've already shown us within the last like 5 minutes, within before we even got on, that they're right here helping us. So that part's really powerful. I'm going to read your bio that I kind of crafted along with you.
Yeah.
So, Emily Graham is an author, speaker, grief coach, and founder of After Child Loss, a community and support program for parents with children on the other side. After the heartbreaking transition of her 7-year-old son, Cameron, on Christmas 2015, she navigated the unimaginable pain of child loss. Her life spiraled, overwhelmed by a reality she no longer recognized or wanted. She found herself going through the motions of life, struggling to keep going. Outliving your child is beyond comprehension, and those that experience it don't expect to be able to survive it, let alone live again. After years of walking through her own grief and feeling it all, a shift occurred. She turned her pain into purpose by walking alongside other parents in grief, offering them tools, compassion, and hope. Her book, Confessions of Child Loss, provides an honest, unfiltered look into the reality of child loss, addressing the questions no parent ever wants to ask, but grieving parents wrestle with: why? Who am I now? And how do I go on? She founded After Child Loss, where she's passionate about sharing all the things that helped her as she learned to re engage a way that felt good again. She empowers other child loss survivors with tools and support they need to take the next step forward and rebuild a life they can live again. Emily combines practical grief support with a willingness to speak about the unseen, the signs, synchronicities, and deep soul connections that remind us that love never ends. Through her writing, coaching, and community work, she helps parents navigate grief while also rediscovering meaning and connection. That's you.
Whew.
Yeah, that's you. So when I say all of that, I want to talk about Cameron, and I want to talk and how Cameron, your experience and your son, and but I want to say first that what I just read there, that is what you did for me. You are a grief coach. We met once a week. Really, I use so many of the tools that you have available to help me. I would like take notes on these, because you have this whole kit of like recordings of explaining, and I would take notes, explaining all of the different ways to walk through this. And but one of the things that connected to me to you most was you had what I wanted. Okay. And so when I say that, what I mean is when you're experiencing something like this, or really anything, well, at least for me, I look for the people that are living in peace, and that's what
yeah,
you were doing. And you also had a lot of connection to your son. And the biggest thing that I felt connected to you was that you knew ahead of time. So you had some of these, like I call them breadcrumbs, like things that happened ahead of time. And I heard you speak of that. And that is what happened to me. And you were one of the first people. It actually is pretty common that you
Yeah.
were one of the first people that spoke of this knowing. And I had that same knowing with Kira, which, nobody wants that to come true. But so really, that's what attracted me to you, your peace that you were living in. And then also really that connection that you had to Cameron,
Yeah.
which is really, and we can understand that now, that like this level of communication that we still can have. So if you want to tell us about Cameron and any part of that, your connection to him when he was here on Earth, and then your connection to him now, if you want to share what happened briefly. I don't. I personally don't think it matters what happened.
I
It
agree.
does matter
That's
individually
why I
to me.
smiled when you said that, because I was like,
Yeah.
I don't feel like we have to go into the full story. I think it's literally so. Cameron was my firstborn. I have three kids, and he was the one that made me a mom. And so when I look at our story together, he taught me unconditional love. He made me the mom that I was for those first 7 years of his life. And when he left us here physically, it was very unexpected. But at the same time, as you said, I had this knowing. And what happened was I had a voice. So when Cameron was 2, I heard a voice that said, "You're going to lose a child." And when it happened, it's when you hear a thought in your head that's, is not yours, it's very jolting, where you kind of pause and you're like, what the heck was that? And I recognized it because I had had the thought one other time in my life. And when I look at this now, I think these things played out in the way that they did for a reason, so that I would connect the dots eventually. And so when I met my husband, before I met my husband, I heard the voice for the first time. And I had not met him yet. I had not even had eyes on him, didn't even know he existed. And somebody said to me, "Have you met David?" And the second they said his name, that voice came in and was like, "This is the person you're going to marry." And it was so jolting that first time because I was engaged to somebody else. Like, my life was on a completely different trajectory, was not even on my radar for anything like this to happen. And as we know, things sort of play out the way they're meant to play out. And within, God, we were together for a while, but we ended up getting married. And when I heard this voice, right, Cameron was 2, and I was like, "Oh, no, 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 no. Like, we're
Mm-mm.
not doing this again. Like, this is not what we're doing." And so I tried really hard to interpret it as, this is a mom looking at her child thinking, I don't want to lose this child, right? How unimaginable would that be? Sort of every parent's worst nightmare. And so that's what I tried to do. It was not front and center for me that like he was going to die, but in the back of my mind, it informed our entire relationship. And so I was very intentional with him. We had a really strong bond. He was 7 when he died. We had conversations about death that were very in depth, to the point he told me what he would do if he died before I did. He
Kira
knew.
also did that same thing.
Yeah.
Not that not that she told me what she'd do, but she told me what signs she would send me.
Mm.
Even thinking about it, and that was a couple months before, which was like, it's those breadcrumbs. Like, I looked at her and I said, "Well, you won't send me signs," because we were
It'll be
talking
the other
about
way around.
signs.
Yeah.
And it's that same kind of like, wait, what? No.
Yes. And so those were the conversations that we had. And he would tell me a lot of times, like, he would wake up in the middle of the night and he would tell me, "There's people in my room. We just can't see them." So there would be all these connections. And I resonated a lot with that because growing up, I always felt like I was very sensitive to a lot of that stuff. And so I believed it. And so to have him sort of validating that and reinforcing it, we had a bond in that. And as we got closer to his death, I would hear that voice come back in. It would be the last 6 months probably. And there would be moments where I would hear things like, "Time's almost up." And I, again, would take it as, our kids are growing up. They're eventually going to leave the nest and go out into the world. And so your time is limited. And so I would purposefully engage in those moments and take photos and videos and all of those things. And leading up to his death, so Christmas is also my birthday. That year, about 2 weeks before he died, he got sick, just a normal cold, right? We had a whole experience at the doctor that said, "Give him this medication. It's a normal one." And I had a full body reaction to it of like, "Oh, I shouldn't do this. This isn't something he should have." But in that moment, I listened to it. 2 weeks later, the exact same scenario played out. except this time my husband was in the driver's seat of that, and he bought the medication and brought it home, and we talked through it for the first time. And so it was like I hadn't told anybody that I'd had these thoughts, heard these voices, had these experiences, but I had that same full body experience of like, I don't feel like he should have this medication. But we talked through it and we made the decision that, like, this is crazy. It doesn't make any sense. And I administered the medication that night, which kicked off his attack that happened that night, essentially. And so it was a very quick progression. 12s come up all the time. And I would say within 12 hours, he had progressed to the point that we were being told, this is it. There's nothing we can do. Our only decision at that point was going to be to withdraw life support. And so
This is Christmas Eve, right?
It was,
you go in
yeah.
on
So
Christmas
Eve, we took him to the hospital. It was like 2 a.m. I heard that voice again, right as we got him settled into the bed. And the voice was like, this is it. And I remember being really angry in that moment. And the night progressed like it's just a mystery. Nobody knows what's going on. Nobody knows what to do, but he's just rapidly declining. We were transferred to Children's Hospital, and in that transfer, it would have been by 10 a.m. Christmas morning. The doctors were saying his brain has already hemorrhaged. Like, there's nothing that we can do at this point. And so at that point, it was just the typical, we have to wait 12 hours, 12 again, in order to run the brain tests and to see if everything's okay. And in that first, we were like, there's no brain activity. And so we, at that point, sort of made the decision, we prefer not to wait another 12 hours and do that whole test again. And so we asked if we could withdraw life support. And it ended up, timing wise, right after midnight. Everything was in order. We were told that we could proceed. And so he died just after midnight. It would have been like the day after Christmas.
Yeah. And this is the point where most people would interview and say, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say there's something about that, because I know that, yeah, I mean, you lived through it, but I also know that it was happening this whole, I mean, you and I have discussed this, right? Like how horrible you've lived through, Cameron, I can't,
right.
All of that happened. But what has continued to happen since then, which you've shared with me, is this really profound level of connection where Cameron is doing all of this work with you, and that you see that you two together really like planned this to do this, which is
not a perspective that I had in that moment, right? So it's very interesting to me now, and I'm sure you have this experience where there's the human experience of losing a child, and you walk through all of that trauma and all of that suffering and pain. And then once you've done healing, right, and you've reconnected in the ways that we have, and you've found your way to be back in life, this new perspective and belief system that I have layers over top of that experience. And I can see that there was something else going on there that I just wasn't aware of in the moment, right? Yeah. So all of these things were lining up, really pointing to that whole plan. I've had Cameron come in and medium reading saying, we planned this. So it's like there's validation on both sides if I just look at the way things unfolded. And I really believe they unfolded exactly the way that I needed them to in order to lean into some of this stuff and open up to some of this stuff.
Yeah, the soul. So that was something. Wait, one thing I want to say before we go on, for anybody that's listening, and I've done this several times, for the mothers out there that worry about their children. Because when people listen to this, they start thinking, oh my gosh, she had this thought. I have these thoughts too. And maybe something is going to happen to my child. We're not doing that. We live in the present moment.
Yes.
It's something that was gifted to me, this kind of a knowing that did the exact same thing that it did for you, Emily, which was, it wasn't that I thought something was going to happen. I really didn't, kind of like you. But I lived very, very intentionally with Kira, all my children. But really, I remember just staring at her and this feeling that something might happen made me just be really intentional. I didn't really think it was going to happen. I know
Right.
you feel the same. It wasn't until it happened and I kept telling people I saw this coming, which is really scary.
Yeah.
But we also have a human mind that can scare us with all kinds of stuff. Okay. So if you're listening and you're worried about your child, that does not mean that this is going to happen to them. Everything that we're afraid of does not come true. We have to come back to the present moment of what's happening. And I always want to preface it with that. I have plenty of other fears that did not come true. And there's a lot of things besides just this that happened with Kira that show me that I was being shown ahead of time, like the signs that I'm talking about. Somebody started talking about the signs right away. Um, and like couple like maybe 2 months before, somebody started talking about signs, and then I was introduced to signs like
Right
two months
before.
before
Yep.
Kira transitioned, and lots of other things.
Yes.
So
I just want to add to that, Becky, that I don't think that I was shown this to prevent it.
no. Yes, thank you
So
for pointing
I
that
think
out.
that's another piece of it, because for a long time I felt a lot of guilt that like I had this feeling that I shouldn't give him the medication, but we did anyways. Right.
Yeah.
So I was supposed to stop that or not do that. I don't see that now as being the case. I think in that first instance, my soul just wasn't ready. Like our souls were like, oh yeah, we see what we're doing, but pause, we're not ready to do this. And then it aligned literally 2 weeks later, right? It's sort of like an exit point where it aligns 2 weeks later and it's like, okay, we're okay now. Not on the human level, but on the soul level, we're like, this is the right time. And I think it wasn't intended for us to save them or to fix it.
Yeah, I was very, very clear on that with Kira. It was interesting. It was like on a human level, it was a deep knowing. It was, well, first of all, it happened. So, it's like, well, there's nothing I could do about it. And there was nothing that I didn't have any part in. She was in a UTV accident,
Yeah.
super freak accident, but I was very clear. My soul was telling me it was coming no matter what. We actually
Yes.
6 months earlier had been driving. She was driving. She had just got her permit, and um a semi was coming, like a semi was passing and coming straight for us, and I had to pull the wheel because she like didn't even notice, and I just like my life flashed before my eyes. And after she transitioned and I was already hearing her, she was like, this was happening no matter what. And like, see all these times, because there were several other times with her like that, like really close calls where she was like, you were not supposed to go. I was supposed to go and you were not, which is very clear to me now in the
Mhm.
work that I'm doing, because I'm very connected to people on the other side. But
Yeah.
it's really not just about that. It's about opening up to this higher level of consciousness, and that Kira had to leave early to be able to really, I'm a bridge. And she's got this availability to a higher level of consciousness. She sees so much more and can help me see it. And the absolute suffering that I experienced stripped away everything so that my soul could really hear. And I want to say that we can seek, right? People
Mhm.
seek, and they seek peace. So maybe you have anxiety, maybe you've lost a job, maybe you're going through a divorce. But the level of seeking that happens when your child is on the other side is just, I was just so open. And so maybe I would have discounted and been like, that's not her, that's not her. But like the mothers and fathers were seeking. And so we don't doubt it like we might have if it was just, signs of the universe telling us where to go next. It's like, that's my child that I am connected to. And there's a lot of people that like are like, it's God, it's God. Okay, yes. I'm very clear on that. I'm not religious, but I'm very clear that this energy is very strong. And Kira will say she teams up with God, but it's a collection. It's
Yeah.
Cameron. Cameron brought you to me. They work together. It's Cameron. It's my higher self. It's I actually couldn't, I as a human can't begin to imagine the team that is helping me do this work.
Right.
But what I know is that I am able to connect in a way that doesn't seem humanly possible, and I'm able to do all of the things that I've been doing, and my ego has stepped aside so that I can do that work. And Kira, transitioning is what makes me be willing to do it all and literally not care if people think
Yes.
I'm crazy.
Right.
Yeah. And if
Because
it
we
was
feel
something else,
crazy
maybe,
in this. And I still use that word because I think so many people still kind of view it as crazy until you experience it. And so I use that word a lot, but I kind of call it my trauma response of like, this is going to sound crazy, but
yeah.
when really it's so normal now. Like this is such an
Yeah.
integrated part of our lives that I feel like I was living wrong. Not that there's a wrong way to live, but like before this, I feel like I was living, I always call it the hamster wheel, where it was like I was doing all the things I was socialized to do, but I wasn't living in alignment to what I came here to do.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I feel like my experience is that I really was living in alignment.
Mhm.
I had been questioning for like a good 11 years, doing a lot of work and questioning things. And I would say over and over, like, I didn't need this to happen to me to appreciate every moment, because I
Right.
really was there already. I wasn't like somebody that got resentful at people or fought with my family. I was really clear on a lot of stuff, living a really full life and knowing that we have this moment, all of that I already had, which I feel like is a gift because my grief looked probably different than other people. So I was ready for this really
You
massive
had a lot
opening.
of the tools that most of us don't have. Because I felt like society did not prepare me for a loss like this because nobody was talking about what happens when life doesn't go the way you want it to go or when
Yeah.
something really bad happens. And so I think for a lot of us, we get dropped into this experience without any tools or resources. But that was the one thing I noticed about you right away. You had a toolkit, you just had to adapt it to make it work for this situation.
Yes, and it did not, that toolkit, nothing was going to save me from the absolute utter freaking
Right.
unexplainable. There, people say there are no words, which actually is like, well, there's words.
There's words.
But yeah, I can't even, one of the things I can't even like really, it's just so excruciating. It's like
Yeah.
there is no tool to help you through what the human body needs to experience, and I had to experience all of that, and I still do.
Yeah.
And one of the things you said to me, because it is very scary, um the level of emotion that runs through your body in this
Mhm.
kind of experience, where on one end I might be having these really high level of connection with Kira, and on the other hand, and I would like, it was like going back and forth, and like, wow, like literally could just be standing there and drop to the ground like screaming, and it
Yeah.
scared me. I mean, it was scary because I was like uncontrollable
Yeah, life
emotion.
feels out of control in a way that you didn't imagine could be that big.
Yeah, and really being brought to the present moment, which
Mhm.
I know that's all that we have. And you helped me, you really did, you helped me with so much. I mean, I can't ever express my gratitude enough, because, and I know you were sent to me. I know it's beyond you, like,
Yeah.
and I know you
Yeah.
know that. It's like we just
Mhm.
show up for each other. We agreed to this before we came here, that we would do this work together, that you would enter my life at this time. I have my whole body is activated right now. When I say that, I mean, it's like chills, right? Like I have
Mhm.
chills from head to toe because they're just confirming that what I'm saying is true. I already know it, but I'm
Yeah.
saying it for other people, that we make agreements with people to come in. And you were one of those, really like the people that I needed to really remove the doubt, because I was questioning what was happening, and you were describing, you had already kind of experienced this level of connection that I was having. And like you said, there's not that many people talking about it.
Yeah.
And so here we are. I'm just like, I'm talking about it because it's very, very real. And for me, what has happened, it's not only about Kira's transition, it's not
Yeah.
only about Cameron, because that is like, I mean, it's only been a year and a half since Kira transitioned, and the level of what I experience and how I live so peacefully and all of that is because I'm being helped, and because we're moving into a higher level of consciousness. They call it the new earth, where we are very connected. So I have a lot of really profound things that happen outside of Kira. I just kind of like, the physical world shows me signs. I'll see pictures on my phone, themes, everybody's talking. I mean, stuff happens all the time. Like today, oh, I want to just a little. There's so many signs that you and Cameron and I and Kira have shared together, but we would be here all day
Mhm.
talking about them. But it does help to share some of them. So first of all, I had not planned to have you. What I say on this podcast is that I really I surrender and I listen to who is supposed to be next.
Yep.
It doesn't mean that I need to sit down at a special time to meditate. It usually comes to me, but it did come to me in meditation. I had already spoke to you that I thought for sure you would be on. I thought maybe, in several months from now, but I sat in meditation and I got a clear message it needed to be sooner. Now, I don't know why that is. Is it when it gets posted, it hits the right people? We don't have to know why. I just knew. So I reached out to you and I told you, and you were like, yeah, well, you can say, because you said you were on Facebook or something and you had messages from Kira.
Well, I think at the time you guys were getting the dear messages. And it's funny
Yeah.
because when you share the things, and this is, I think, one of the biggest things that I've learned in all of this is when you're talking about what you're experiencing, when I tap into that, I start to experience some of those same things. And so I think you guys were getting all the dear connections. And then all of a sudden, I was getting flooded with dear, dear, dear. And I kept going, hi, Kira, because that's what I do when I recognize a sign from somebody's child, I acknowledge them. And so it was funny then because you then were messaging me and you were like, I'm being told we have to do this sooner. And I was like, well, that's funny because I was just acknowledging Kira and all of the signs that she was sending me. So I knew there would be something.
Yeah, which I love that. That's the energy of that connection where that happens a lot, especially
Mm-hmm.
when I'm connecting with other people that are connected, where like something's coming to me saying that I need to connect with you, and you're also at home at your house, on the other side of the country, getting that same connection. And then we message each other right at the perfect time. And
Yep.
so we're here. And then, so Cameron sends 12, Kira sends 22, but Kira and Cameron both send lots of other things. Kira sends a lot of numbers. I don't share publicly all of it because I feel like the public's only ready for so much, but
Right.
it's literally endless. It's infinite. So it could be anything because everything is connected. But so one of the other things is 12/28 is her birthday, so I will see that. And so on the day that I asked you, I kept seeing 12/12. I saw that
Mm-hmm.
everywhere. And then I also I had a series of connections with you and our friend Nadia, who I am sure I will have on the podcast. Her son is on the other side, and he's 10. So I had a series of connections between the three of us. And then I pull into the parking lot of Whole Foods, and there's a license plate that says Cam. And I'm like, hi, Cam. And directly parked across from it was another license plate that said live in life. And so they just like continuously encourage us to keep going. And
Yes.
then yesterday I was thinking of you because we were going to have this call, and I need to message her. So I go to message you, and the time is 12/12, of course. So I screenshot that, send it to you, and then I go do something for a few minutes, and then I come back to my phone to see if you, and you have responded, and now it's 12:28, which is
Mm-hmm.
curious. And these are, to be honest, they're very simple synchronicities. It's way
Yes.
beyond this, but they're just like little things. And then today when we went to get on this call, we had some technical difficulties, which here's the thing, guys. Technical difficulties always have a purpose. It's why I don't worry about much.
Yeah.
Um, so we didn't get on at like kind of the right time, but they were really making it clear that they're here. So you can tell what happened with you.
Yeah, so I clicked on a wrong link and I ended up, as I clicked on the link, it was 12:28, which I didn't notice right away. It took my phone beeping. My daughter has diabetes, and I had a high blood sugar notification of 312. And then I saw the time at that point, and it was 12:28. And I was like, there they are, like they're ready to go.
Yeah, they're like, okay, we're coming on.
Yes.
And I love that too, that when I don't notice the connection, something else, maybe a hawk outside or a light will flash or something will happen, something will drop on the ground, anything that has matter in the physical world will be able to send a connection to me to be able to see. I'm very clear that we are connected and that I can trust what's coming from inside as to what I
Mhm.
need to do next. But the confirmations help, and it's just kind of fun. And to share these things, I know that you have had really a lot of profound. Your book, I loved your book because you shared so many stories of what had happened since Cameron's transition and how he continues to communicate with you through,
Mhm.
and like that the signs can even hold his personality. And that's the same
Yeah.
experience I have with Kira, where she's just like joking with everybody. So like Tyler and Abby found out, that's my son and his wife. They found out they're having a baby, and before I knew, I was seeing twins everywhere. Like I was seeing a lot of signs, but I was seeing twins, and then we all laughed because she's like joking, like, "Haha, it's twins." And so it's like there's other things like that. She'll be like, "Better luck next time" to me,
Yeah.
like in your next life, maybe it won't suck
Right.
so bad, you know? And it's like where we can, there's like a lot of like kind of our family, we just laugh. We're just like, okay, we have a lot of dark humor where we're like, oh,
Right.
Kira didn't like the way you did that TikTok dance, you know, because my daughter dislocated her knee and so we will just kind of joke like that. And it's true. They can communicate like that. So if you have any, I mean, I know you have thousands of things because it's happening all the time. Any stories that you'd want to share from Cameron?
I think so. I love how you talked about initially that the signs come through as sort of that ongoing communication. For me, it was leading me back into life. And so I started to notice that the signs came in when we were doing things that had us back in life and not just in the grief. So it was like I would take my daughter out for our very first outing, and we had to ride a bus out to the location of this festival thing that we were going to. And when we got on the bus, I said to her, pick out a seat. We sat down. I hear somebody behind us say, oh, what seat do you sit in normally on this bus? Which made me look at the seat number and see that we were in seat 12. And so I knew in that moment he was there with us. And these signs would continue to show up. And I felt like the more I went back into life, the more the signs showed up, the bigger they became. And it led into, and I think you've talked about this too, it's a connection to Cameron, which then has become bigger. So it's like it's not just Cameron. It's like these things are happening to the point where you know that things are going to happen. So, like yesterday, I shared an experience that I had. I've been getting all kinds of messages that, like, I'm supposed to talk more about what we're talking about today.
Yes.
And not just it's a sign from Cameron, because that's what everybody thinks. When I share a sign, they're like, oh, this is just a sign from Cameron. And I'm like, sometimes it is. And I can recognize him in it and his personality comes through, or I know exactly what he's trying to tell me in the moment. But then there's also times when it's bigger than that. And it's sort of like, I don't know who all that is, my higher self, God, right? The collective, whatever it is. So I had this experience where in my head, I was thinking about, okay, if I'm going to talk about this more, what I would do with somebody, it's like this theoretical. What I would do is I would tell somebody, if I was with them today, to look for a purple butterfly. No, a blue butterfly. And like I'm analyzing this in my head. And I'm like, and then I know exactly what would happen. We would be somewhere that we would see both of them. I don't know
Yes.
if it would be two butterflies, one of each color, or if it would be together and it would be the combined, but that's how it would play out. And those are the things that I'm supposed to do for people. So I'm having this whole like thing in my head. And so we fast forward. My husband and I were out in the car, several hours have passed. We pull up to a red light, and on the car in front of us is a purple butterfly and a blue butterfly, and it's inside a heart, and it says, "A piece of my heart is in heaven." And I was like, there it is. I knew that something, like, I didn't even ask for this, but yet here it is. It's like the universe saying, yeah, all that stuff you were thinking about, you're supposed to be doing it. And so go do more of it. And so it was like I had that whole experience where these crazy things happen. And it's like, that these things are coming. And so when they happen, it's like, yep, I know, there it is. It's like we don't question it anymore. It's like we just expect these things to be there and know that we're connected in this bigger way. And it really is that leading back into life initially, but then that guidance almost of like, these are the people you're supposed to connect with. This is what you're supposed to focus on next. This is what you need to do. And I sort of laugh that like, I just listen and I wait and I do what I'm told to do.
That's exactly my experience. And you helped me see that. You showed me this vibrational scale.
Yeah.
You were one of the people, and I'll link to that. I will link to the scale because I think what you're speaking to, it was the same thing. I've shared a story of how Kira you were actually involved in that. Of course you were, the Hawaii thing. It's like
Yeah,
kind
I
of a
remember
long
that.
story to share here. Maybe I'll do a short little video on it. But she basically led us to Hawaii. Actually, that picture right behind me of there's a picture of Hanalei Bay, and with sign after sign after sign, and this is like 6 or 7 months after Kira transitioned. So that because she was, trying to help me, and I knew that, but I didn't care. I was like,
Yeah.
I want to die, so
Mhm.
let me. And not that I really was going to, but it's pretty normal to want to
To
die
feel that way.
or
Yeah.
not want to live through it. And but to live. So first was living.
Mm-hmm.
And then this level of so much peace came in. And then it was just like, wow, everything is amazing, which doesn't really make sense.
Yeah.
But she was feeding me energy where when you speak of the hearts, right? The heart and the butterflies, where that stuff started happening so much that it actually can be I changed the wording. I changed the wording around everything. You'll see that I say transition. I say children on the other side.
Yeah.
I really try to avoid child loss. However, I'm learning that that's how people are going to find me, by using that wording until the
Yeah.
wording changes in the collective, because you actually can't lose your child.
Right.
They exist physically. Yes, they are not in their bodies. But oh gosh, it was just like crushing thinking about that. So I use like different language with all of it, and to help myself see the truth. And then this like higher level of consciousness, which when we talk about soul planning, right? Which I know you're working with your private group with that, like talking about soul planning, where it's this, it's that we come here. If we think our lives are divinely orchestrated, right? A lot of people can believe that. It means that our souls made a plan, and Kira and I made a plan, and I had someone else tell me like 2 days after Kira transition that we made this plan. And then all these people kind of entered my life to like send this message to me, which I agree. Those people made that plan to help me know that it was true.
Right.
And then I had all these things that happened ahead of time. that also like confirmed that that's what happened. And then Kira very clearly told me that we made this plan together. Yes, through mediums, but I knew, and I was connecting with her directly, and she was just like basically like, we planned this. And it's not about me being able to be like, guess what? Life continues after death. That's not what this is about. It's partially about that, but mostly it's about that humanity is literally shifting into this new level of consciousness that we can hear about. You hear about the new earth, you hear about this, but and I heard about it. Okay, but until you fully start to embody and experience it, it doesn't matter how many times I've read about these things. I'm experiencing a higher level of connection where you see me out fully living,
Yeah.
fully connected. This is my work 100% of the time. I'm not really doing, I'm just, anytime someone comes into my space, I meet someone, every interaction, I know I'm just like, you wouldn't be talking to me if you weren't connected to what we're doing, this big work we're doing, which is really just coming back to the truth of who we are,
Mm-hmm.
which is that we are literally just pure love. Like, that's it. There's no fear. My fear has left me, that's for sure. And I know it's hard. My daughter Maddie was in the hospital with appendicitis. And then your
So is
daughter
mine.
was,
So is
yeah,
mine.
yep.
Yeah.
And then your daughter ends up in the hospital, a couple months after mine, because
Mm-hmm.
this happens too, where we have the same things kind of happening.
Yes.
But the way we walk through that looks different because we know it's
Mm-hmm.
orchestrated. We know that we have to stay in peace. It doesn't mean that it's not hard,
Yep.
but I stay out of fear because
Yes.
I'm being helped. And also, no amount of fear is going to change. I have to just pray that I do the right thing. And I always, even you choosing the medicine that ultimately led to Cameron's transition, you did exactly what you were supposed to
Right.
do. It was because he was always going.
Yep.
And that's hard for people to hear, and I love that you would say that.
We used to talk about it a lot in the fact that we spend a lot of time in grief thinking like, oh, they should be here.
Mm-mm.
And like, no, they shouldn't. If they were meant to be here for this, they would be here for this.
Yes. And gosh, that I needed to hear that over and over. And so it helps me when I think the first day of, school or whatever,
Yeah.
she would be starting school if she
Yes.
would, but she's not.
But
She's
she's not.
actually, Cameron and Kira are, their work is much bigger, which
Yes.
is like the level of opening up that they have the ability to do and the ability to help is like, it's
Their purpose
massive.
continues, right? Like their lives weren't necessarily cut short. They probably have a bigger, more profound impact on humanity and life here than what they could have done in the human form.
Oh,
And that took
uh,
me a while to see too.
absolutely no question. I mean, Kira had a huge impact on the people that she was here on
Mhm.
Earth, but the level, I mean, people are connecting with her
It's
that don't even know.
magnified
Even
now.
it's huge. And even just coming through me, people will come up to me and like can feel the peace, and it's like we are radiating this energy of peace and possibility, and like feel good always.
Yep.
The feel good always is about feeling, being willing to feel, knowing we'll survive it. It's not about bypassing, but
Right.
the level of feeling that comes from this kind of experience and this really ascension, it's ascending into a higher level of consciousness that I fully live in. It's why people can see me living in a lot of peace and just, okay, this is what we're doing. And I just listen, just like you, and show me what to do next. And I will
Yeah.
do it. And I don't feel a separation from Kira. Of course, I wish she was here physically, but she is with me all the time. So I get confused sometimes when people are so sad, because I'm like, but she's right
Yes.
here, not to say that it's just like a confusing feeling because I I live
You feel
kind
like
of in
you're
both
supposed to
places.
be, yeah, in the human experience, we think we're supposed to be sad all the time. And I don't go into that sadness anymore.
Yeah.
Rarely. I still do, but not the way that I did before.
Because
I
you know the
really
truth.
sort of stay in this. I love how you were talking about the vibration because it really is a vibration that we live in. And when we can stay in that space and keep our vibration and our frequency high, we're open to all of these synchronicities. We're open to the connection that exists, and we really are able to show up and live differently. And that's what I feel like this whole thing was for me. Like, there was not anything else in my mind that would have woken me up in the way that the loss of a child did.
Yeah.
And I feel like we have to go through that dark night of a soul in some way to reconnect in the ways that we have. And I think we're seeing this more and more in the world because of that ascension that you talked about. People aren't just going to be like, okay, I'm on board. Let's do this whole spirituality thing and have it ring true for them in the same ways that it does when you have to dig out of that hole and come out of those dark places and figure out how to be back in the world in a way that makes sense. Because it really does shatter everything, your belief system, the ways that you thought life should play out. Like, none of it makes sense anymore. You don't recognize yourself. And so, figuring out how to reconnect in those ways. I wanted to go back to and comment. You were talking about changing your language, and I'm really big on redefining and changing the language and how we talk about it. One of the things I did, though, that was opposite of you is I use those words, died, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I wanted to hit people hard so that they knew this was a big deal and have them have their reaction to it, because to me it doesn't mean the same thing anymore. And so I've kind of changed how I think about it. But for them, I wanted to see the impact of it, but then also allow them to maybe change their own definition of it. So when we talk about child loss, when we talk about grief, and we talk about, like, there's so much in that space that when I read it now, I'm like, oh, I don't like those words. I don't like how people talk about this. But I think maybe for you and I, this was part of our purpose, was to come and shake things up. And so
Yes.
for me, if I can use those words, but I can use them in a different way, and when people can hear me saying things like this, like child loss in one moment, but yet he's not gone.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like challenging them to see it maybe through a different lens.
Yeah. You helped me with that too, with being able to say died and all of that. That all helped me. And yes, Kira died. Her
Mm-hmm.
physical
Her
body, but
physical
it's
body
like
died.
redefining what that means. And
Yeah.
I know that many people will be like, oh, they're in heaven. We'll see them again someday. I
Nope.
don't have to wait
He is
because,
right here.
yeah, I mean, the second I think of her, she's here.
Mm-hmm.
She can be with me, with you, with everyone infinitely. So I don't have to wait for some moment. I don't have to like live a perfect life so that we can be together again.
Right.
She's right here and everything. And it's not just her, it's everything. I'm connected to literally the cup of water I'm drinking. I'm
Mm-hmm.
connected to everything and everyone. And that is what I've experienced in that vibration that I speak of. This chart will show you that emotions such as fear, anger, grief, they vibrate at a lower frequency. And you can feel that. You can feel the energy in the room if you go in there and it's very somber or somebody's like maybe toxic or whatever. You could feel like that low, you could feel it in your body. So people I think can understand that. And when you go to a party where everything's happy, you can feel like a higher level of energy. And so what I
Absolutely.
learned was that, Kira vibrates at a much higher frequency now because she has left her body. And so when I am in these higher level, more peaceful, fully living, my vibration is higher, so I can see more. Now, she was still able to reach me in the deepest moments of my grief. I just couldn't. I didn't care. I mean,
Yeah.
we were having a ton of connection. It's just that the way I feel about it and my willingness to see it all really, really increased exponentially once I was kind of outliving and realizing that I could live again and I was never going to live without her. So that doesn't mean though that people that are experiencing, you don't get to bypass it. I'll say the same things over and over again.
Yep.
Like you don't, but it's just to offer this hope that, because in my mind I was like, but how would I ever live again and be okay again if my child is not here? And I can't really explain what happened, but you understand, and there are other people that understand that, like, it's not over and we're still doing this work together and it's not
Yep.
the same as it
Yep.
was. So I want to ask you just a couple questions before we end here. First, I'm going to ask you, I mean, you've already shared some things. If there's anything, and I'm not just talking, I know you're somebody that helps people with grief, but you actually, the tools that you have shared, and maybe that's part of what you're supposed to do, because your work is really big. Your ability, just the stuff that you have available could help anybody. You don't have to be
Mhm.
in grief to have
Right.
these tools help you to live more peacefully. So really to be able to move into this connection and living more peacefully, is there things that a couple things that you would suggest that could help people?
I feel like, so I always relate everything back to kind of my own journey. When I look at the lessons, right, we've talked about what are the things that we planned in this journey. I think for me, the things I found most important on my healing journey were learning how to self reflect and kind of go inside, figuring out what am I really feeling? What does this mean? How do I express this? How do I put words to this? Because I was very, I don't know, I did not do emotions before Cameron died. And so
Mm-hmm.
that was one of the first things that I did was I had to learn how to feel it, right? Love the name of the podcast because that's exactly what it is. We have to learn how to feel it and name it and put words to it. And I think then it became, I have these key things that sort of stand out. I learned a lot how to walk through fear. And like you said, you don't feel fear anymore. I really don't anymore. Like I will recognize it and then immediately say, let that go. And so we develop these practices, I think, as we start living in these ways that let us balance that human experience with the spiritual experience. And for me, it is about keeping myself at that higher vibration, staying connected, because I know my soul chose this for a reason. And we all joke about, I don't want to come back and have to do this again. Well, the only way that we don't do that is if we are intentional and really look at ourselves and look at the world and look at what we're doing to say, how do I make the most of this exact moment, right? What am I here to do? How do I do that in the best way possible? So that when I get to the other side and I'm standing beside Cameron looking back over this, I feel, I mean, I think we're going to be proud anyways, but I want to feel like job well done and not look back and say, oh, I wish I had not stayed in that fear or, right, said no to that opportunity because it was too scary. And so, really just trying to be in the moment and let go of those things and live differently.
I love that. And I feel with Kira, and I know with Cameron too, first of all, I'm already proud of you and of me. Like the
Same.
level of, I just am in awe of the things that I'm able to do. And it's not like I'm like, oh, good job, Becky, but I'm just
Right.
like, this is so beyond me. You could see it because this is not me. This is it. I'm part of it and I'm willing. I
You're the
have a
vessel.
willingness
Mm-hmm.
to do whatever, and I believe, but I believe that I can do whatever I need to do, and it's not about me. It's about helping really humanity move into
Yeah.
this more peace, right?
Yeah.
And to it's beyond, I mean, what I have
But the
experienced.
more we learn to love ourselves, the more we do our own inner work, the better version we are out in the world. The ways that we show up is
Yes.
amplified. And so that's really the work that we all need to do.
Yes, and I thankfully came here. I think my soul was very much, I've always kind of loved myself. It's just not my
Mhm.
nature to beat myself up,
Yeah.
thankfully. And so then it was like, how do I move into this, like helping other people? Even though I actually didn't really want to do what I'm doing. Even the feel good always, that was something Kira would say. And it was like, even the name of the podcast. Okay, so I'm talking about like connection and higher consciousness. Feel good always is not really telling you, if you're looking for a podcast, that that's what this is about. But she was
Right.
like, that's the name. Okay. But it's as it unfolds, it makes sense. Even meeting with you today, because um and you being on here, because yes, a big part of your work and how you helped me was talking about emotions and feelings, because I
Yeah.
was living through a level of feeling that I didn't think I could. And you have done a lot of work around that. I mean, you were kind of forced to, and then
Mhm.
understanding what happened so that other people can.
Right.
And so if you want, the last thing, if you would like to just speak to what feel good always means to you.
I love that the podcast name doesn't really make sense initially, because again it goes back to that whole, let's challenge people to think about it differently. Because when you think feel good always, I go to like toxic positivity, where it's like, oh, you just always have to feel good. But I think when we figure out what we're supposed to do here in the human experience, we're supposed to figure out how to feel and experience all of the things that we came here to feel and experience. And a lot of those things aren't happy and positive and perfect. And so it's learning how to do that, but balance it, right? And find the place where these two things come together. I'm a big proponent of both. And I'm like, I can be both connected to Cameron and in this high vibration state at the same time. I can process and accept and feel whatever it is that's coming up. And I think it's about learning how to do that.
Yes, it's about, and I think nothing brings you closer to what, like when we say our souls plan this,
Mm-hmm.
like my body, my soul, this body, Becky Bradley's body, had to experience a very, very high level of feeling
Yeah.
even before this, but this is a whole nother level. So it is, yeah, it doesn't mean that we don't feel. So I can be in grief or crying. I mean, literally this morning, something happened. We speak of Abby and her dad that transitioned in a plane wreck.
Yeah.
Um, and the sisters, Abby's sisters, he's now connecting with, right? And he's taken, he's offered, it makes me want to cry right now thinking about it. He's offered to be there, to take,
Yeah.
to be, you need something fixed, I'll be there. And that I just out of nowhere, just like he's going to do something to fix a lock. And I just started crying, because it's like, I'm still here in a body. It's like, but I feel it. And I'm just like, it's both sad and beautiful at the same time that
Yeah.
his daughter transitioned and their father transitioned, and now he's helping them. He's always been close to Abby, but her sisters, um and they're helping him be able to,
Mhm.
he can't do those things for Kira physically, but he can do it for them. And so it was just a huge amount of feeling.
Yeah.
And I'm thankful for it.
Yeah.
And I'm about to get on a podcast with you, and I'm walking outside bawling, crying. And so it's like, wow, what a beautiful experience, to feel it all. Um,
And
to
I really
feel,
do think there's beauty in all of that. And it's weird to look at what we have been through and be able to see the beauty in things that most people would not be able to recognize.
yeah. Well, I'm so thankful for that. I'm thankful for you. I'm thankful for Cameron. Cameron's catapulted you into the work that you do today, which puts you
Mhm.
right in the perfect place to help me. Not that it was about me. You've helped hundreds and hundreds of people one on one, and then collectively way more with your writing. And I know you'll continue to do that. I'm going to put in the show notes everything for you. Your program, afterchildloss.com, but you do more than that. And your book is great for anybody, even if you don't have a child on the other side, because you share so many experiences in there of these really profound synchronicities, and
Yeah.
really way beyond synchronicity. And I do believe, and I'm going to say it over and over again, when we read about other people's stories, we start to see it ourselves, because we stop doubting. And when the collective all starts sharing these things, we will stop. And we're already doing it. It's happening everywhere in the collective. So your book, I'll link to that also, and all of your social media. I want to just say thank you again so much for being here.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
Yeah, and thank you to Kira and to Cameron for making this happen, and all the other kids. I want to be clear about that, because you
There's
have a
so
team
many.
of kids that are helping you because you work with their mothers, and I also have a team of kids on the other side. Kids, I say kids, but their souls are so expansive. The work that they do, and they're really guiding this to all of these children that have transitioned, that their work is much bigger than it could have been here on earth. So thank you to all of them, and thank you to everyone that is listening and following along. You can subscribe to this podcast or share it with anybody else if you think that it will help. I want to just say keep listening, because we have a lot more to come. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you to Emily for being here today. And in the next episode, I'm going to be doing a solo talk on this theme of death and the new language I'm using around it, and just death in general. All kinds of things around that. I've been sent so many connections about this, and I'm going to share what has come through, not only for me, but many others that are connected to this and connected to me. So another thing I wanted to point out is, just like in the previous episode where I told you you're about to see a rainbow, and many people saw that rainbow. If you haven't, you can go back and listen to that episode. So one of the signs that I talked about happening for me was while I was replaying this episode, the audio suddenly stopped. And what happened was, when it stopped, it caught my attention. And of course, I looked at the clock and it was 12:22, which, if you've been listening along, there's a lot of connection to that number. And when I went back to play it, it had jumped back to the beginning. So I immediately sent a voice memo to Emily letting her know what happened, and just thought it was kind of funny that that had happened at 12:22. And then she, within a couple hours, was listening to another podcast of mine, and the same thing happened to her. It stopped in the middle and then jumped all the way back to the beginning, showing us really these mirrored experiences, mirrored signs, just showing us there's so much more going on. So maybe for you, it will be a purple and blue butterfly. Maybe it will be the number 12, Cameron coming to show himself to you. 22 for Kira, or her birth date of 12/28. It could be a connection to your own birth date. It could be anything. So just know that the universe is always constantly communicating with us. God is constantly communicating with us, whatever you want to call it. The children on the other side, for sure, are constantly communicating. So I hope you pay attention. It's not that you really have to do something, but when you see it, just acknowledge it. And I do believe you're going to see some things, and then it just increases. That's kind of what happened for me. And if you're listening to this podcast, if you've been following along, then you're connected to this energy and you will see it. I know this is true. Until then, may you notice the signs, trust the guidance, and remember to feel good always.